Hare Krishna, Namaste. Chapter 15 is entitled as Purushottama Vidya, Purushottama Yogam. Sloka 6, Part 8. Na tat bhāsayate sūryo, na śaśāṅko na pāvakaḥ, yad gatvā na nivartante, tad dhāma paramaṁ. In the 5th sloka, Gachanti amudaha padam avyayam tat. Those who seek refuge in me attain to the state of my grace. The term tat padam, which is padyate iti padam, the entity to be attained is called padam. That entity to be attained can be the Supreme Self, that is the Lord Himself, or the individual self, or the Supreme Abode. Padam can be of any of these three. All those previous parts that we have seen based on the Supreme Abode to be that entity to be attained, Padam, the spiritual world. If we consider the Padam to be the Supreme Lord, the Super Soul, then the sun, the moon, the fire, the electricity do not light up the Super Soul, the Supreme Form of the Lord. Having attained this beautiful form of mind, they do not return. As we have learned previously, even during this sloka, that Jivatma is ajada, meaning it is swayam prakasha. It doesn't require a third tool to cognize it. That substance which are capable of being cognized without the need of any other aid is ajada. That substance that can cognize themselves is pratyak. That substance which is conscious is chit. So all these three, ajada, pratyak and chit, are applicable to Paramatma, the Supreme Lord, as well. Therefore, the sun and moon illuminates everything, but the Lord's form doesn't require an external light like sun or the moon to illuminate. The Lord's form is illuminous by itself. It cannot be lit by the sun, but rather that form, which is Swayam Prakasha, illuminates the sun, the moon, and other luminaries. So the Lord says, I alone, master of all splendor, the form of knowledge which is revealed by itself, am to be known as the Padam, Tat Padam. I am attained by those who surrender. In Harivamsa, it is said, Tat param paramam brahma sarvam vibhajate jagat mamaiva tat jnanam tejo jnatum arhasi bharata. That Supreme Brahman lights up this whole universe. You should know that this intense light belongs to me. Now we have seen Padam to be the Supreme Abode. Next, we saw the Padam to be the Supreme Lord, and now we will understand how this Padam can be applied to the individual self. In the first interpretation, we saw that the Supreme Abode belongs to me, Krishna said. Those who have attained that Supreme Abode will never return into this world. Next, we saw that supreme light of mine belongs to me. Those who knows never return into this material world. Now the third explanation, that living entity, knowing the effulgent self which belongs to me, will not attain this material world. That supreme light, which is the self Atma, belongs to me. It is my vibhuti, my glory. The sun, the moon, the fire cannot illuminate the self. That is to say, knowledge alone illuminates everything. Fully developed knowledge only can reveal the self, the Atma. Knowledge blossoms through yoga, that is, meditation on the self. Then why one is not able to meditate on the self? It is because of the beginningless sin, which are the hindrance for one to focus on the self. Being free from the attachment and desire, etc., for sense object will eradicate the sin. And obviously, as it is stated, taking refuge in the Lord and becoming eligible for His grace is the only way to remove attachment to the sense objects. In our conditioned state in this material world, contact between our knowledge and the object is through the senses, indriyas. Knowledge makes contact with the objects through the eyes and other senses, causes the object to be revealed to the Atma. Darkness hinders the contact. We may have eyes, we may have eyesight, but if we are in a dark area, room, then that darkness becomes the hindrance for the eyes to contact the object. The light from the sun, moon, electricity, a lamp removes the darkness. Therefore, if darkness is dispelled by the light from any of these sun, moon, electricity, lamp, contact is made between the indriyas and the object, and the object is made known. In this manner, the light of the sun or moon, etc., helps us. But for the Atma to be revealed to oneself, we don't need any of these things. We have to remove the darkness, which is stopping us to realize the self. And that darkness are caused by our purva karmas. Therefore, one has to take refuge in the Lord, who will help us to remove this attachment to the sense object by which we are constantly accumulating karmas. Once the karmas are removed, by being free from the attachment to the sense object, one will be able to see the self. So, it is the knowledge alone eliminates everything. The knowledge which is fully developed. So, if the Atma is self-effulgent, why then it is not revealed to me? One may ask like this. The answer is, one does not have that yoga. Next question, why one does not have yoga? That is because of anadikala karma. Next question, what is the solution to get rid of this anadikala karma, the beginningless karma? Answer is, take refuge at the lotus feet of the Lord. The Lord says, tat paramam dhāma mama. that supreme effulgent self is my vibhuti, my property, my opulence. That means they are not independent. They are not independent doesn't mean that the Lord does everything on his own to the living entity. He does based on the karma of the individual self. So that should be very clear. Otherwise, one may blame the Lord himself. So, if the knowledgeable soul is not present, then what is the use of sun, moon, fire? They become useless. Unless and until the knowledge is there, these objects has some meaning, can be revealed to us. Otherwise, it is not. Therefore, the Atma Jyoti is supreme than the sunlight, moonlight, and what to speak of a small lamp or a fire. Therefore, Krishna says here that sentient self, the conscious being, which even illuminate the sun, moon, etc., belongs to me. That is to say, this liberated Atma belongs to me, my vibhuti. A house owner may say, this house belongs to me, my vibhuti. It is not the same way when Krishna says, this Muktatma belongs to me, because the house and the owner of the house are two different separated entities, whereas the Jivatmas are part and parcel of the Lord. They are the energy of the Lord. The house owner cannot say, this house is part and parcel of me, it's my energy. Therefore, the house owner may lose his house because he is not connected to the house, whereas the living entities who are the energy of the Lord are not lost from the Lord. Even though the Atma is liberated, even in the liberated state, that Atma is subservient of the Lord. That is what has been made clear here when the Lord says that self-effulgent Atma belongs to me. It is my vibhuti, my energy. To conclude, we have learned this sloka in three different viewpoints. First one as the supreme abode. That is, the Lord said, the supreme abode of mine is not illumined by the sun or moon, nor by fire or electricity. Those who reach it never return to this material world. Next, number 2, we learned that the supreme form of the Lord is self-effulgent. The sun, moon, and fire do not light up my supreme form. Having attained this beautiful form of mine, they do not return into this material world. The third explanation that we saw is that supreme light, which is the self that the sun, the moon, the fire cannot illuminate, belongs to me. Having learnt this, now the question comes, if the individual selves are your vibhuti, they are part and parcel of you, then like the liberated souls and Nitya-atmas who are in the spiritual world, the individual Jivatmas, the Baddhatmas, must also be free from sin and ever be immersed in great bliss experiencing you. But that doesn't seem to be the case. Why so? We'll see the answer to this in the next sloka, sloka number 7. Na tat bhāsayate sūryo, na śaśāṅko na pāvakaḥ, yad gatvā na nivartante, tad dhāma paramaṁ. Namaste. Hare Krishna.